Hi, Tracy, and welcome to my Your Way Global Women's Conference. Now, guys, this conference would not be complete without Tracy on the lineup because Tracy and I
Oh,
go a far way back, don't we, Tracy?
we
And I
certainly
would
do.
just love you to just tell the audience, a little bit about your journey and how you came into my life and our journeys collided.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was back in 2009, I believe, which was incredible. But yeah, so we've known each other for 11, 12 years.
Yes.
I've come from an advertising background. So I used to sell advertising on the television. I used to sell billboard advertising and obviously newspaper advertising. But my last job was back in 2007. And my boss said, I want you to go out networking. And I said, networking, what's all that about? And he said, well, you go to these events, you swap your business cards and you do business. So I thought, that's fine, I can do that. But I was obviously a sales girl and I was working in the local press. You were very much target driven. You had to achieve your targets because
Yes.
you're only as good as your last month's sale.
Yes.
And they said, right, go out networking and go and get some business. So off I went to my first event. I'll never forget it. And I think you were there actually. It was at the Copthorne when
Yes.
Karen McGrath was hosting an event at
Yes.
breakfast in pajamas. And I remember you were speaking and you were talking and I was thinking, oh my God, she's full of personality. Your whole face lit up the room. And I
Thank
remember
you.
chatting to you the one day when I bumped into you at one of the events, and I think we've been friends ever since. And it
Yes,
was
we just kind of it's just natural. It's the law of attraction. You attract your kind, don't you?
yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And I remember, obviously, we had I was working for the magazine, and I thought to myself the one day, actually, after that first event, I had a seed planted in my head. I thought I'd love to set up my own network because what I'd noticed, there was no networks out there that would strategically place you with your target audience. And I thought to myself, well, if I could create that,
Hmm.
and a little bit like a business dating agency without the kissing. I thought, wouldn't that be cool,
Yes.
to match people with their target audience? Because I go to all these events and there'd be like three banks on the same table as you.
Yes.
And then there'd be, say, two solicitors on the same table as you. And they never used to split people up. And I thought, well, why don't you split people up so that you can spread the love and
Yes.
give them more opportunities?
Yes.
So I came up with this concept and I took the idea to one of my clients. And he said, oh my God, he said, yeah, you should do it. And I said, well, I didn't really know a lot about business at the time, but obviously my parents, they run their own business. So I was entrepreneurial,
Yes.
but I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I had a little bit of knowledge because of my mum and dad, because I grew up in the pub trade. My dad was a publican. So I used to come down into a room full of people. And I think that's why networking was my thing, because
Yes.
it was all about the people. It was all about building relationships with
Yes.
people, getting to know people, being surrounded by lots of people. So that was I suppose, my burning desire to be a bit like my mum and dad, but I didn't want to run a pub because
Yes.
I could see how hard they worked and how many hours they put in. And they didn't really we had wonderful holidays growing up. We went on the most amazing holidays to America and the Caribbean. It was just, we had incredible holidays, but all year they worked their asses off,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they didn't really have a family life on the weekend. Like a lot of people obviously are in their jobs Monday to Friday. They spend time with their kids and their families over the weekend, go out of a weekend, but it was more difficult. Although I will say my mum was awesome because she always used to make time for me. There was two things that I remember about my mum and dad when I was younger was they always inspired me to work hard.
Yes.
And my mum always made sure I ate healthy. And she used to take me out on a Saturday. She'd leave my dad in the pub on a Saturday afternoon and we'd go shopping. So I did spend time with my mum more than my dad because my dad was
Yes.
the one that was leading the pub. He was the one that was running it. And obviously my mum ran it alongside him and she worked really hard, but she did always make sure that she had time for me. And we always
Yes.
used to go into town shopping and she'd buy me new clothes or I'd have new shoes because I was a shoe fanatic as a young girl. And I always used to put my
We
shoes.
all are shoe fanatics, aren't we?
Yeah, and I used to put my shoes by the side of the bed, and my new shoes, and I'd get up in the morning, and that's the first thing I do is put my new shoes on. So, but my mum always made sure she used to do a lot of snacks in the pub, for teas, coffees, and as well as alcohol, and then toasties and pasties and pies. But she said there is no way I'm bringing my daughter up on that. So every day she used to do a cooked dinner with vegetables and meat and
Oh,
gravy.
fantastic.
So I always had a really good childhood of, of her spending time with me, giving me that work ethic, but also trying to eat healthy, and not bringing me up on the junk food in the pub,
Yes. But then what you're bringing out, Trace, is that all of these things became your own core values: hard work, bringing people together, making sure people are happy, nurturing people. All of those things that you mentioned form now who you are. And that is the whole essence of what I say with the book, that, you will be surprised just how much of you has been formed by your journey and the people in your life. And when you actually come to terms with it, then you realize your core strength, that thing that actually sets you apart. And that's what you did. You did quite inadvertently with IntroBiz. So tell us about how you founded IntroBiz.
Yes,
fantastic global network.
Yeah, I remember we actually went out for dinner one day, didn't we? And I was telling you about it, and you said, "Oh my God, you should do it," and and it was one of those things that I always wanted to do my own business, but at the time when I was, wanting to set up my own business, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But when I'd started networking, I want to share a little secret with you all. I was absolutely useless with networking when I first started, because I was that sales girl and nobody had told me the concept of networking. I was going into the networking scenario and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Tracey Jenkins." I was at the time. I sell advertising space. Do you think you'd be interested in that? And it's like, oh my God, surprise, surprise. Nobody bought off me. And they were all like, oh my God, who's this full-on sales girl, So after 3 months, and I got zero business, by the way, which is no surprise, I actually said to a couple of people, and I'm not sure if it might have been you, I can't quite remember, but I know I spoke to a couple of the other girls and boys there that I'd met and I built up a good relationship with. Am I doing something wrong with this networking? Because it's not working for me. I'm not getting any business. And they went, "Yeah, can we be honest with you?" And I went, "Go on then." And they said, "Yeah, you're too much in people's faces. It's not, networking isn't about giving it the hard sell. It's about getting to know people, getting them to like you, and vice versa. You like them. Build up the trust and the business will follow." So I implore anyone, don't ever go into the scenario of networking like I did, of just trying to pounce on people and sell to people, because it's not about that. And then when I realized the right way, it's like, we all don't like, honest feedback is good, although it might not be what you want to hear. I didn't, I was gutted to hear what I was doing, and what I was doing was wrong. But I always see that as an opportunity to make good and be better at what you're not doing right,
Which is the thing is, Trace, what you did is you took time to find out what impact you were making within the marketplace. And a lot of us don't care to think about other people. We just care about our agenda. So I have to commend you on that. So not only did you take the opportunity to find out, but then you also decided, when you looked around in the networking space, you decided that you could do something and do a networking organization your way. As you said before, didn't you, that you saw how people were doing it, and you thought, that's not quite working. But you didn't just sit back and complain about it. You did something about it. And tell us about the fantastic journey and what you've achieved with IntroBiz UK.
Well, I mean, it's been very ups and downs. Business is a journey. It's not a destination. It's, it's very up and down. Any entrepreneur will know that. You all go through, you make loads of mistakes along the way. I made so many, but I did always want a franchise. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do. But at the time when I first set up, I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know enough. I hadn't made enough mistakes to learn from, because I always say, the more mistakes you make, the more you learn anyway. So any of you who are thinking, oh my God, I'm afraid to do this because I'll make mistakes. Embrace your mistakes, because as long as you don't keep making the same mistake twice, then I've got a problem. If I speak to my team, I always say to them, make a mistake once is fine, but as long as you learn from it. And if you don't, well, then we have got to have a conversation if you keep making the same mistakes. And it's so true, isn't it? You've got to learn from your mistakes and rectify it and make it better. But I think, at the end of the day, you've just got to do in your heart what you think is best. So I just took that decision to do it and worry about it anyway, don't worry about it anyway, just go along with it and learn. So I did that. And obviously it took me about 9 years to get to the point that I wanted a franchise. And obviously I'm really proud that you came on my journey. as the
Yes.
franchisee of
First franchisee for Intravis.
Yes, the first.
Intravis Swansea and West Wales. I'm proud to tell everybody else I was the first.
Absolutely.
Yes, and despite the challenging times, I think that the true strength of Intrabiz has come to the top now, because despite COVID, because of the core solutions that Intrabiz provided in the first instance for the community, it remained relevant, because these solutions were even more needed during COVID. So would you tell us, what are the key core solutions that Intrabiz UK and the rest provide for the marketplace, and tell us how you managed to even enhance that during COVID?
Yeah, well, basically what we, when we heard that we were all going into lockdown, bearing in mind, as you know, Bernie, 80% of our business was, or 100% of our business was face-to-face, and 80% of our business was expos. And that literally fell off a cliff.
Yes.
So straight away, we lost 80% of our business. But I'm a great believer of, through every adversity, there's always a positive.
Yes.
I'm a great believer of looking at new opportunities, never rest on your laurels, and never, ever give up. So we had to quickly strategize for the business and say, right, well, we've got to take everything online. So whereas before, 4 years prior, if I take you back 4 years, I started to do a go-to webinar on networking training 4 years ago. I did it for the first time because I'm not techie savvy, but I thought, oh my God, I've got to try and learn this stuff.
Yes.
Halfway through my seminar or webinar, the system crashed. So I lost all confidence and I never went back to it. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, always embrace new technology, because had I embraced it 4 years prior, my business might have been completely different now. Do you see what I mean? And that could have been another arm to the business with the franchise as well, online webinars. But obviously at that point, you get scared, you get, oh my God, this is not good. This is no good for me. I'm useless at it. And you lose confidence.
Confidence. That's it. Those voices that tell you can't do it. And, it's interesting, guys. I mean, Tracey is a woman that's forever succeeding and forever being courageous. But she also has these moments of crisis of confidence. So don't feel that it doesn't come to us all. But how do you handle these moments, Tracey, when you have this crisis of confidence?
Well, you've just got to surround yourself with the best people, and make sure you've got a good support network of people. And I don't just mean in the business capacity, I mean in your friendships and your family. That is absolutely paramount, okay? Because they will take you on a positive road. And then you've got to think to yourself, well, you have to stay positive. There's no point in giving up and saying, oh, well, I can't do this. It's like, if I always say to someone, if they say to me, oh, I can't afford that, do you know what I always say to them? What is it that I've got to do to make myself have that? How can I afford that? What have I got to do, or what have I got to sell to make myself afford that, because I really want something? So you've always got to look at the positive rather than the negative. There's no point in looking at the negative, because guess what happens? You surround yourself with negative people, you think negative, you're going to attract negative. A lot of people that know me know I'm all about the law of attraction. I'm all about positivity, and I'm all about surrounding myself with the best people. And that's what you have to do. And I don't just mean sitting on your sofa saying, oh, I want to be a millionaire one day, or I want this one day, or I want that one day. You've got to implement things. You've got to create a strategy, and you've got to take action and make it happen.
So Tracey, I know that, guys, she's not just saying this. I actually know that Tracey has done it, and I've actually seen Tracey call things into being in her life. So tell us about Necker Island and how that happened.
Yes, well, we about 4 years ago, I was hosting an event in the Marriott in the centre of Cardiff, and I stood up one day, because I'm all about the law of attraction, and I said, I don't know when and I don't know how, but one day Intrabiz will be working with Sir Richard Branson, and we will take clients to Necker Island. Now, I didn't just say that and do nothing. There was a lot of things that I did along the way, raising the profile of the business, aligning myself with successful people, getting people like Lord Sugar onto the expo, which then when you had people like Lord Sugar and you invest in your brand and you invest in your people to pull people in, you then have, you have this this positivity of, oh my gosh, the brand of Intrabiz is linked to Lord Sugar. So it's that power of association.
Yes.
And through the power of association, I also went to Dublin and spoke over there. Excuse me. And then another thing, excuse me. Oh gosh, I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Okay. And I got to speak in Dublin at a conference, and there was about 200 people there. And again, I said the same thing. I don't know when and I don't know how, but one day I'm going to meet Sir Richard Branson. We're going to do an event on Necker Island, and we're going to be working with him. At the end of my talk, in the break, a gentleman came over to me, Brian Chittick. As you know, he's now one of our members in Intrabiz.
Yes.
And we work with him in another business. He came up to me and said, well, if you really want to meet someone that's been to Necker, one of my friends, Hannah, went there in this was February last year, and he said she'd been there 2 months prior in December 2018. Would you like me to introduce you? So I got introduced to Hannah. Just think I was going to pick her brains. She said, I'd love to work with you. So she and I ended up doing a joint venture together. She came and spoke at our event. She sold a marketing seminar, and off the back of that, she introduced us to James Kluski, who was Richard Branson's tennis coach. And he wanted to raise his profile as a speaker. So we said, well, why don't you come and speak at our expo? And he said, that's amazing. Thank you so much. What can I do for you? And we said, oh, all we would like is just to be introduced to the Necker Cup crew. And we got introduced to Trevor, and the rest is history. We got invited to go and take clients, and we went to Necker Island, December 2019.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Tracey. So what I'd like you to do right now is just look into the cameras and just tell us, give us one last, before the Q&A, before everybody starts throwing questions at you, one last key thing that you would like us to remember. If there's anything that you would like us to take away from listening to you, what is that one thing?
I think it's to never, ever prejudge anyone. Never prejudge, because you never know who you're going to talk to. Never underestimate the power of networking and the person that you're going to meet. So be kind to them, be polite to them, because first impressions count, but never, ever assume who you're talking to is not going to be the right person for you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tracey. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I know the questions are coming now. Thank you so much. So now over to you guys. Let's hear all the wonderful questions you have for Tracey.
Brilliant.